So this section that shows this donut is nothing more than a cylinder created in elliptical fashion, and you can see how the lighting and the shading changes. This is probably the hardest one to use as far as trying to adapt it to this isometric section. So it will work up to a point, and then you have to kind of add to that section on your own. And what I mean by that is you'll have a space, and in this case I'm just going to go with the 4 that I have remaining just to kind of build up the base of this, just to give you an idea. And hopefully you can start to see these illustrations with this grid is kind of helping. So the intersection, since it's even, and then the distance of the third as you cut across this piece, so you can kind of see the estimate section of this on each of these grids. So this is just going to give me that selection, but beyond that the grid isn't going to assist me too well. So what you're trying to do is at least imagine that this piece has a thickness to it as you're building this up, and the same idea as having a center, and this is the part that's going to overlap. So when you think of this, almost has the look and feel of some animation. And when you take a look at this piece right here, this ear, so you can see where it can be applied to using some of the dimensional part of your drawing. So just to kind of bring that into it, that beneath this you're seeing the bottom of the shape, so you're kind of overlapping this piece. And then once that happens, this is where you're trying to increase this section. So at least the elliptical part starts to help out. And as we talk about the basics of drawing this contour line, which is the outer edge of the form, and then the cross contour are the lines that go across the object, across the shape itself. So in this case, if I were to do a cross section of this, trying to show you an elliptical piece like that, taking it out as a donut, if it comes straight forward, it's just a line, and as it wraps itself around, you can kind of get an idea of how this would be cut through. But we're just keeping it into one section, so if the light source again is coming from the top, that's where it's showing that highlight, and it flips itself. It does it a little bit on this side, then it becomes darker, and then the highlight goes on the upper section of this. So once that's built up, still using and thinking of the 6-tone scale, this part wraps around, and if you just go half the distance, and it builds that up. So I've just shaded it with one value to the next. Didn't really worry about trying to pinpoint exactly the value scale, because that's going to come next. So here's the base tone of this shape right here. And that'll build that section up. So the reflected light is coming down inside of here. Here it's building up on top here. Okay. And that's putting it up into that piece. And if the highlight is on the top of this edge of the shape is just going to have a little bit of a tone to build that section up. The cast shadow, again, just going to go straight out. You can see the back end of this and just arch that curve. It's also going to have a little bit of a cast shadow from the interior spot that it's placed on there. And again, as you're trying to get as a smooth transition from that edge. To build up there. And this will curve around, it becomes an elliptical shape itself, and comes to a point and comes backwards. finish that off. All these pieces are very rounded segments there. So hopefully you can see that as it transfers it through there. Step that, so putting that together.